Because most shops see a new employee as, well, I got to dump a bunch of money into them to hope that they work out. That shouldn't be the case.
Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast, and today I'm going to be here with Jamie Werner, which is going to be super, super fun. Chris was like, hey, you need to have Jamie on the podcast, which was yesterday, and then we're booked today, and we're going, right? Like, that's how we get things done.
Hell yeah.
Before we get started, I want to say, let's go to detailersroadmap.com. There's a little button at the top where you can schedule an opportunity to talk to Pat, and he will walk you through what's going on with your existing website, what's going on with SEO, your positioning, and all those things. That we do very, very well. And he may tell you, look, you're great. Everything's going well. Tweak these little things and go on your way. Or he may say, look, this is exactly what we can do for you. But go to detailsroadmap.com, use that little button, get that thing scheduled now. You can do phone call or Zoom. It is what we do. So go ahead and get that going. Hey, so I want to give Jamie's ChatGPT'd bio. He sent me his bio. I was like, hey, I just need a couple of sentences. So let's grab this. We'll let Jamie tell the rest of it. Jamie's currently leading Equip Academy and AutoLab, dedicated to solving the automotive aftermarket industry's labor shortage by empowering and connecting people with over 14 years in the industry, including successfully building and marketing Premium Shield. Jamie thrives on helping others become better versions of themselves, both professionally and personally. Hey, I don't know if ChatGPT did a good job of that, but that sounds pretty level.
It did amazing. Yeah.
Pretty good for the high level.
Pretty legit. Pretty
good for
Absolutely.
the high level stuff. Jamie, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's gonna be great. You have a specific kind of experience and journey into the industry, and I think it's great that we have different kinds of people on. I try to do all levels and all kind of parts of the industry and outside the industry, and I think you kind of bridge the gap between those two, because it's not like, hey, I do, this is a more traditional path in the industry. I'm a detailer. I ran a detail shop, all those things, and we were talking before you got started that your path is a little bit different. As you know, superhero backstory, want to hear who we're talking to. So I would love it if you would just share with us kind of, hey, that journey. You and I share some health and fitness background as well, but like kind of how you, and honestly, go as back as far as you want, because I love to see, and you've hit some bumps in the road, right? Which is, what you had said. I love to see this journey from because how old are you?
I'm 42, about to be 43 in like 2 weeks.
Nice. So I'm about 10 years older than you. But as we get into our 40s and 50s, we have this huge story that is most of us that have brought us, especially from entrepreneurs and those kind of things. So, dude, lay it out. I'd love to hear it.
Sure. I mean, it's a journey, and I'm still living the journey, which is great. I'll go back to going to school for business finance, thinking I want to be in the stock market, and wound up once I got out of school, realized I don't want to work with people's money. It was a very quick learning experience, and then eventually found myself in the restaurant business. Did that for a while, found myself in the wireless industry, working with cell phones and repairing them. So I got my hands to work and put stuff together and fix things. And then eventually that led me to the health and fitness industry, where I got to help people create better versions of themselves, making them feel better and be better health-wise. And then at some point in that career path, which is what I felt was going to be my long-term career path, I had an opportunity from one of the members of the health club who had family back down here in Massachusetts, and I grew up in New Hampshire. She had been trying to recruit me to work for her sons for years. And it got to a point where she was actually moving from New Hampshire down to Massachusetts to be closer to the family. And I was just like, screw it. Here you go. Here's my resume. What's the worst that could happen? I'm really happy with what I was doing, because I was not only a personal trainer, I was an ops manager of 2 health clubs. So it was very enjoyable, kept me busy. And I got a chance to have some really in-depth, good conversations with these 2 brothers that were running a installation business and also a distribution business. And they were about to form a manufacturing company and build a brand from scratch. And so it gave me the opportunity to be part of something from the ground up, be like thrusted into every aspect of the business. And I was like, all right, I bring a lot to the table. I bring a lot of the business side and learning. And to be honest, I'm not a car guy. So it was all new to me. I'd never heard about this product. My first SEMA I ever went to, I was like, holy shit, this is a huge industry. I did not realize how big automotive was. And I think they say that automotive is one of the 5 leading industries that help run our country.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting. And I went all in. I was young. I was ready to like restart my career and go all in on it, from the point where I relocated myself from New Hampshire down to Massachusetts for the job. And they gave me every opportunity to learn, went all in on me, treated me like a family member. And so I got a chance to learn all aspects of the business, from manufacturing the product, because, you know, we were working with 2 different manufacturing plants in Massachusetts. So it allowed me to go there, be part of that process, learn the ins and outs. I got a chance to learn the actual business side of what it meant to run a shop, why people chose to do partial kits versus full front end kits, wrapped edges, non-wrapped edges. Why did you choose this brand? And that was kind of in the heyday, if people can remember, back when Expel still sold their software price per kit. I think the price per kit was roughly around 15 or 16 bucks per kit to cut. And they had just launched their ultimate product with self-healing. And so it was a young product and industry. There wasn't a lot of competitors. There wasn't a lot of options. So it gave me a chance to be part of an industry that had so much room for growth. And I made phone calls to as many people as I could. I learned as much as I could from going shop to shop, and just really being fluxed into everything and absorbing it like a sponge. And then eventually, over time, I took over a lot of responsibility because my boss had left to go do something else. And so I also was cutting kits for an install company, and it allowed me to really just absorb and pass that information on. So it was so informative to then not only like learn so much from the great people that helped me out, but also pass that information on to others, which I find in our industry, a lot of people kind of hold that in and they don't want to share.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not narcissistic at all, but I would say I probably was one of the first ones to actually self-promote and publicize training and education and what we were doing on all the social media groups. Whereas anyone else that does training, they keep it in their own personal group of installers, and that's it. So I publicized that. I created momentum. I focused on education. I created a curriculum that focused on teaching, mentoring, and going all in on them, so that they understood we're just as invested into them as they are into us. And it was a lot of hand holding for those early customers. So that was good. And then over time, from that knowledge and tutelage and hand holding, they got better and better and better. And I got to know some really good people, made some really good impact in people's lives. And it was very fulfilling. And then it got to a point where we were able to, post-COVID, or I'd say mid-COVID, we got to a point where the business was flourishing. We were adding more staff. Eastman made the decision to acquire our business, and they really only acquired it for the pattern database and the design team. They didn't want the brand. They didn't want the product. They wanted a little bit of my knowledge on the training side, but that was really what it was for patterns. And I stuck around for about a year, realizing that I didn't really see a position or my vision that I had on the education side through them. And I made that decision. One, I'm not a corporate guy. and I think there's a different path. So when I gave my notice, I basically liquidated my 401k. And before I did that, I obviously had a discussion with my wife because she was going to have to carry the burden of the family's income. And I was very lucky enough that she was willing to take that on and support me in the decision. And with 2 kids, it's risky. You know, you've got a family, you've got a house, a mortgage, getting the kids to school. It's a lot of responsibility. So I went all in, liquidated the accounts, and started 2 companies. And today, now, I have 2 businesses that are, in my opinion, flourishing, slowly growing, and we're trying to make an impact not just in people's lives, but the bigger vision is making an impact in the industry. Because the biggest issue that I always talk to people about is lack of labor force. How do we solve that? And I looked at it from a very different perspective because the industry runs it like top down mentality instead of bottom up mentality. So if you take a look at any other industry like medical, legal, financial, they all have schools. Kids go to school for 4 years. They go through that college education. As soon as they get out, they have all these firms or hospitals or accounting firms that they could pick and choose who they want, and they're already able to sign up and be impactful in those businesses. Yes, there's going to be some learning to do, but at the end of the day, they're ready to start helping that firm or that business make money. We don't do that in our industry. We look at it from the manufacturer, does manufacturer training. They expect business owner to be good at business and installing and know how to hire people, and
which is rare.
Correct.
All of those are rare, right?
Correct. And be willing to take that risk. And in reality, we really should just be teaching students how to do these skills and giving them enough room to grow and find what they like and don't like, so that by the time they graduate, they have tons of experience and can immediately sign on with a shop and immediately start making them money. Because most shops see a new employee as, well, I got to dump a bunch of money into them to hope that they work out. That shouldn't be the case.
Right, 100%. Yeah, that's a real. You gave me so much I want to dig into, but we can start there. I think that's such a unique perspective because, as you said, it's just not done right. Like I got a guy that's doing my interiors, and he expressed an interest in maybe doing some film.
Yep.
You know, why don't I train him up, and then I have to spend the next year kind of watching him. I'm having a conversation with one of my guys now that's like, you know, he can't leave the shop because his guy that's trained is only good at all the way up to like these 3 or 4 things.
Sure.
Right. So he's got to finish those up. But you're talking about literally like what I would almost say is a turnkey tool in the form of an employee. Right.
Correct. And it takes time. It's an actual trade school. Now, did I think this was going to happen in, a few years? No. I mean, we're talking about 10 to 15 plus years to develop it in the process. We're in year 3 right now for the school, and we finally were able to add window tint training. So that was huge for us. We were able to find an educator that we felt confident in bringing into our system. And very quickly, we've already had one training. We have another one coming up in 2 weeks. I've already invested money into the proper panels and vehicles and stuff that he needs, peel boards, so that when we start trying to develop the curriculum and services and products, that we want to make sure they're getting the best of the best what they can get out of it. When someone comes for PPF training, it's a 4-day course, and it's pretty private. I mean, we go max 4 students per educator. It's very small. We burn through roughly 2 to 3 roles per person. So you get lots of volume, lots of experience, lots of attention. And we find that the success rate is so much better that it's why we go all in on it. And we took the same process, the same style curriculum, And we did the same thing with window tint, and we're noticing the same thing. So we know that this process and the system works. And the next phase is not just extending it out longer. It's actually doing the guerrilla marketing to bring in students for a full semester. And that if they're here for a full semester or 2 semesters, that we can then job place them all around the country, if not all around the world. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. I think it's tough because we have a relationship with another supplier and they've been so supportive, and people don't realize that the skill has nothing to do with the product. The skills translate over. It's more so like little nuances between your install solutions, and that's it. Outside of that, the techniques, they can be used across the board for whatever product in that skill set. And I think that manufacturers and brands are hesitant because they feel we're there to potentially steal the business from them, which, in my opinion, most of them aren't doing a good enough job to educate. They're focused on the sale instead of trying to make sure that this person is well informed and that it's a good decision. Because there's several conversations we have with people that push them away from getting into PPF. We're not a good fit. I don't think this is the right time for you to come into paint protection film. This is not a do-it-yourself product. This takes a lot of time, effort, and money. And you can make great money doing this. Same thing with window tint. But the time has to be there. The effort has to be there. And you've got to be able to back yourself with the money.
Yeah, that's it is expensive. And I want to clarify. So you're talking about, so if I come, it's a 4-day school.
Yep.
But then you're expanding the curriculum into this 1 semester, 2 semesters. My wife has been involved in the trades, and I've kind of been involved in trades forever on the welding front, mechanics, fabrication, all of those things. And so and it's a kind of an interesting model because like Lincoln Welding, for example, she went out to Indianapolis. I can't remember where they're at, honestly. But she did a week-long school. Right. And that taught her a specific thing.
Yep.
But then they also offer, a full semester, and they, which is you go deep into metallurgy, all of the, and then a second semester. So then you've got metallurgy, you've got titanium welding and aluminum welding and TIG and MIG and stick and all the different things. And so you're basically working on developing a similar trade school, right? Like that's kind of the ultimate goal.
Yeah, and I saw a similar system over in Colorado Springs. I think it was in the construction industry. There's a company that basically brings people in. They teach them the skills in the construction industry to then be able to job place them all around that state to fill the gap of building, because that's the hardest thing right now in real estate is new construction and being able to have enough laborers to actually build homes. And they've done that in Colorado because Colorado is going through a huge boom.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how that can work. But the challenge is you don't see manufacturers of wood supporting that. Right. So this is kind of an industry that's very unique where, you have the IDA and you have the IWFA for the window side, for window film. You've got the IDA for detailing. But I would say for a governing body, it just isn't there for our industry. And therefore, there's not a lot of incentive for the manufacturer to necessarily support something like this. And unless you have good relationships within upper management, which I do. So I've slowly been working with the organizations, trying to do proof of concept so they can see truly what I'm doing and that I'm genuine about it. Because I think that's what it takes, is understanding that the person behind it is not there to just sell someone. Someone is there to actually solve a problem and give them the right information so that we're not just selling them some product and then that's based off of a sale. It's let's get you educated properly and make sure that this is the right fit for you. Because the last thing we want is people coming into the business and then being scared off because it's so hard and it's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. And is the expectation that these are not the business owners running the shop, but more or less the guys doing the installation? And how do you bridge that gap, and how do you deal with, like, hey, I just want to own my own business and I want to install PPF as part of that, right? Like, how does that whole dynamic work? I'm really curious.
It's a mix right now. I mean, we certainly get both. We get both sides. I've had several business owners send me their staff so that I can then train them. And then that way they can focus on what they do best, and that's running the business, not trying to stop and teach someone. The other aspect that I try to explain to people is that you might be really good at what you do, but that doesn't mean you're really good at teaching them what you do.
Correct.
And that's a certain skill set that I have tried to focus and go all in on, because teaching is a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is. It takes time, patience. Certainly my 2 kids, being as young as they are, have pushed that limit quite a bit. But, it makes me better at what I do, so that when I am proposed or presented with certain situations, I like the phrase, I've learned to pivot gracefully. And you learn that there's different personalities out there, that everyone learns differently. So the more experience at teaching, the better of an experience they get from learning from you, so that you can help guide them to be better at what they do. And a lot of the learning is done on their own, but the whole point of teaching them is, like, we have our first class, which is a foundation class. It's just like building a house. You can't build a house without a foundation. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do. We build a foundation of technique and skills so that they feel confident when they leave, they can do work. It's going to take them several attempts to do the work and get it done to the standards that we try to push. But the reality is they aren't being sold the idea, as soon as I'm done, I'm an installer, because they aren't. Right. I make them very dangerous by the time they're done.
What does that mean? Fill me in on, like, what clarify that for me.
So I make them very confident that they really want to install, but at the same time,
where's my razor blade? I'm ready to go.
Yeah, correct. They're going to be gung ho and booking work, and they're going to want to get that opportunity to start getting their ROI back. Because in all reality, the ROI should take roughly, we feel, within 3 to 4 months, which is very quick.
Yeah.
Especially for the high dollar amount that we charge and what we feel is the right investment. But that's quick. That's quick ROI, especially if they start producing at an ample time and being able to get high quality work, so that the business owner can scale the business appropriately, not just grow up and scale it.
Right.
And making them dangerous, they're going to want to go through several pieces of film, to the point where they might chase their tail at perfection, because a lot of them come from the detailing side, where you can perfect paint, but you can't perfect film. It's an imperfect product. So you have to try and find
I would argue that the guys trying to chase perfect paint are the poorest detailers that are in the business. Right?
That's true. It's totally true. Absolutely. And that's where you have to, like, explain to them that it's also a business.
Yeah.
And that's why you see the balance between craft and artistic to business.
Yeah.
And that's why you see most artists that do paintings and sculptures, most of them are poor. They live in studios. They don't know how to sell their service and their craft. It's not until they die that they actually are worth something. Right. And then therefore, time is wasted and they don't take advantage. Where this is a business and you're selling service, because anyone can buy these products and try and do it themselves, right? It's like Joe Schmo can go and buy a screen protector for their phone off of Amazon or whatever, but I can guarantee you when they go and do that first install, they're going to get a piece of dirt, piece of lint, something is going to screw it up, which is why most of them will just drop it off at the kiosk in the mall and have someone else do it, because they're doing it daily, all the time. It's much easier.
I've done those like 100 times and I still get a piece of crap. I have to like go
It's
hide in a closet with no moving air whatsoever. I'm in
yeah,
a paint suit and it's still, it's like, there's a piece of dirt in my,
yep, yeah, and that's the thing is like it is a skill, and you're trying to provide service. It's not just a product; it's a service with the byproduct of it being a product to help maintain and preserve the surface, so that looking at what film does, it's really to protect that car for the secondary market, which is
Mm,
how it even came to be, even with electronics. People would put screen protectors on there so the screen doesn't break. So when you go trade your phone in, it's worth more.
right.
There's other options, there's other markets that we're starting to see an explosion in the marine side. So you're seeing
Just had
more
that
film.
I think I talked to like 4 guys over this last weekend. We were at an event and
Yep.
they're all like marine, like, right. Like that's the new movement. It seems like.
So you get this cross between marine and also architecture. So you
Mm,
can get into the architecture side by utilizing film on uh, granite countertops and also stainless steel appliances. So if
wow.
you're able to start to see those markets and how they can help and the products that are available, your eyes start to open wide up on how can I squeeze more juice out of what I know, even when it comes to like ceramic coatings. Like
Hmm.
people don't realize, and film, people don't realize you can use that on so many other things. You're seeing it on watches, sneakers for sneakerheads, or shoes. Um, that you could do thicker film on the sole. It
Yeah.
protects it. Not
That's
a problem.
crazy. Yeah, I started talking about home coatings like because when I launched Detailer's Helper, it was like 2012, and I was
Mhm.
doing a bunch of business videos and we were having conversations about like why is no one in this house doing all the, just from glass. I mean, even like these
Sure.
big shower. I've got like 30 square feet, 40 square feet of glass in my shower. Like I coat that thing.
Yeah. Why not?
Um,
You're already there.
I'm assuming that that's, and you're saying you can basically do that with film. I see people are doing cheap color changes on their refrigerators and
Yep.
dishwashers and all that. Like it's just a huge market.
It is, and I think that we are lucky enough now to be in a space where marketing to the consumer is a lot easier than it ever used to be.
Mm-hmm.
People are switched on with social media and being able to hire agencies such as yourself to be able to work with them and make it more attainable instead of having to produce printed ads, which obviously not many people are doing anymore, but having to create a commercial and try and get a TV spot. And it's like, the only TV spot that's worth actually putting it out is the Super Bowl, because that's where the attention is. Outside of that, if you're watching a show on TV, as soon as it goes to commercial break, you're on your phone. You're not
Yeah.
watching the TV.
Yeah.
So that's why people are streaming now. So social media, it allows you to really hyper focus your analytics, make sure you're getting your branding or what your service is to those people. And it's interesting to see how the market ebb and flows, because it used to cost a lot of money and it doesn't anymore. It really is inexpensive to do some easy marketing.
Yeah. And even doing like to your point about streaming the OTT over the top, they basically have programs now. Like I can get on Hulu, Paramount Plus, all these different things, and they now have services that I don't even have to go through an agency
Sure.
to do it. Obviously, you need someone to produce the content, at least decent content in order to be able
Sure.
to put that out. But the avenue in order to do that is pretty easy. Now, what are you guys doing in terms of like the business aspect of this? Are you trying to teach them some of this stuff that you and I are talking about where it's
Absolutely.
business? So talk to me about that. So you're in there. I want to learn how to do film. That's a component of it. Do I come back for all the business training? Because I mean, it's extensive, right? Like, this episode is brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap. Hey, spoiler alert, that's us. We all know you need a kick-ass website in order to be successful with your business. The good news is at Detailer's Roadmap, kick-ass websites, that's kind of what we do. With the latest performance, designs, and SEO strategies, Detailer's Roadmap is your one-stop shop to be successful on the web. And don't forget, we have the best support team in the industry. Whether you're an existing partner looking to improve your lead generation or you need a brand new website, Detailer's Roadmap is here to help you be successful on the web. So go to detailersroadmap.com/success and get started today. That's detailersroadmap.com/success. Like
It is extensive.
you know.
Yeah, so like the business side of it, that doesn't need to be in person. That's more so having conversations and being able to have face-to-face conversations like this. I can do FaceTime with people, send them documents if I need to. Those are easy things to do from afar.
Okay.
When they're in person, we want them laying film,
Okay.
squeegeeing the shit out of as much of our film in-house as we can, so that by the time they're back in their own space, they're not throwing out as much film as they normally would. So in the end, it's always ongoing. Like we're getting calls, we're getting video conferencing all throughout our relationship with them so that it never ends and that they always have a resource to lean on and know that if there's a question or a concern, you're just a phone call or a text away. And that's what we try to do. And it's a great relationship that you are able to build because I think most business owners in our industry and I'll say automotive aesthetics, but from window film, paint protection film, and detailing with paint correction and coating in there, they're used to people taking advantage of them. They're in it for something. What do you want out of it? What's in it for me? And so when they start to get way more value and more from us without us asking for anything, it almost kind of is like deer in headlights. Well, I am not used to this experience. I'm not used to people caring as much. And it's great for us because we know that it's invaluable work and it's invaluable time. And I think over time, we're keeping this current structure till we can actually have graduates coming through for a semester or 2 semesters to then be able to job place them. And we want to be that leader in the industry. So we're on our way. We're getting there. It takes time.
I like it. And I mean, I assume that, people are obviously paying a premium because they're getting a premium service. So would that be considered like part of your value add? Are you doing like Discords and cohorts and weekly calls and that kind of stuff? Or is that kind of long, or is it more just like, hey, Jamie, I have this problem coming up, or how do I do this? And you can send me SOPs. And I'm curious how that, because I live in that world, which is like, hey, let's do all the cohorts and, video documents and weekly calls and all of that.
So we find that our approach has been more well received with the hands-off approach because we don't want them to feel like we're being salesmen. Because when we're constantly contacting them and doing updates and this and that, they kind of just want to lean on us when they're ready. Because we want people to want to work with us, not feel like they have to work with us. And that premium that they get full access. I mean, there's plenty of times people have contacted me late at night and I'll make the time, or it's on the weekends. By no means do I want people to abuse that, but
yeah, that's the exception. Let's just say that because I want to protect Jamie. Don't contact him on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Right? He's with his kids. For God's sake, call back on Monday.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I think ultimately, I always say there's the exception to the rule, but I have the mentality is that it's not a job for me, right? And my passion is helping others become better versions of themselves. And where I'm not working with the consumer, I'm working with the business owner or someone who works for the business. At that moment of time, if it's important, I want them to know they can contact me because their business is my business. And if they need something at that moment that's going to help them keep moving forward, well, guess what? That impacts their finances. That impacts the money that comes in for their family or for their staff. And that's important to me. Yeah. And so it's a trickle down effect. So if I just have that corporate stance of, I'm sorry, after 5 o'clock, you can't contact me. Sorry. And I'm off on every single holiday under the moon. That's not me. I'm a small business. And
Yeah.
just like a majority of our industry, it's not big shops. They're
Yeah.
small mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
They need someone that they can lean on like that. So
Yeah. And, I do want to point out that when you pay when you pay a premium for a premium service, education and all that, you do get these value adds that allow, because if you're charging like $500 for someone to come to training, it's just physically impossible for you to provide that level of service. It's a different way. One of the things I find really interesting that most people probably wouldn't pick up on, but my background, I was a personal trainer, and then I ran two 50,000 square foot health clubs, like kind of similar path as you, but you said something and you've said it twice in two different contexts. I want to help people become better versions of themselves. And I think it's really interesting that as a personal trainer, most people kind of think of you as like a meathead or, but it's a very personal, like half the time you're being personal trainer, half the time you're being therapist. There's like, all right, I'm trying to help this girl go back to her marriage, all of these different things, but there are certain things in those two jobs that make you really good at being with people and learning people. And I think I just think that's really cool. And then you add the ops side. I was an operations manager like you. That brings in the other side of it. And I just think it's super cool that you've been able to transition that in the same way that I have over time. So,
it's a unique opportunity that, I love what I do, and I love being in this industry and seeing it grow and change and adapt to different things that have gone on. And I can look back, right, and look at the industries I was in from an economic perspective and the economies that I operated in, and I take something from every single one and I can adopt it into what I do now and did when I first started in the industry. I can look back at the whole process of working for a small startup and, I can be thankful that I had a great mentor at the time who I was working with and I could lean on. I could also be resentful. I could be upset, pissed off at him. But I'm past that. I kind of look back at, well, if I take the negative approach and just look back at it so negatively and not move forward, well, it's going to drag me down and that's going to bleed into all the other stuff that I try and do. Instead, I look back and say, all right, well, regardless of the acquisition being messy, I wouldn't have been able to start the business. I wouldn't have been able to know all of the things that I know right now. I know how to make film. I could go start my own brand if I wanted to, because I know how to start it from start to finish, how to make product. And understanding that like most of these brands, their reps don't know boo-hoo about making film or the ins and outs, and they make stuff up, and it's like, no, that's not an accurate statement. And I look back and say, all right, well, I have a customer base that I was able to bring over with me, which was very nice. They believed in me, they trusted me, and they didn't want to leave. And two, that I was able to actually feel confident enough I can do this on my own because I know enough. I've certainly learned a lot just starting my own business, as most entrepreneurs do when you start a business. That's when things, when you first start, you realize things are never going to go the way you expect them to. Everything gets delayed. And you start to become more patient in the process, learn to adapt, troubleshoot, and pivot when you need to. I've been able to hire staff that I highly, highly respect, rely on, and would do anything to help them. I've made comments to several people in front of other business owners on how I look at it, and they do a double take when I say it, and I say, my staff doesn't work for me. I work for them. And if you take that approach, it's my job to set them up for success. If I chose and hired the right people, they're going to run through brick walls for me. If I ask them to do something, they're going to do it. If I'm going to give them the right information and I'm going to educate them and support them, they're going to do everything necessary so I can delegate responsibilities to them, and they're going to see it through because they'll be compensated that way.
Yeah.
But, getting them set up with a vehicle, getting them, each one of them set up with a plotter, education. Eventually, we're going to try and get health insurance for all of them, 401k. Like, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they feel they have the support so that they have no reason to want to leave. Because the last thing I want to do is create a system that brings people in and churns them out because of the belief system of, you're just a number. I can find another person. Because
you want to make it so that they're not just there to learn, so that then they can go open their own training center, right?
Correct.
Like that's the detailing way. I want to get super trained up so I can start my own business. And you made a good point earlier about like it seems like in the last 3 to 5 years, I'm like, really, another guy is doing training, and this is predominantly on the detailing side, but I'm starting to see it pop up more and more.
Same for PPF, yeah.
On the PPF side, it's like, dude, there is a difference between being, and I loved how you put it, which is basically just because you know how to do it doesn't mean you can teach people how to do it.
Yep.
Like it's and there's this old joke, right? Those who can't do teach. However, I like in this instance, it's actually, that may mean that you're a better teacher than you are a doer of that thing necessarily. I know some really, really good teachers that are mediocre at whatever they're teaching, but I would rather have a really good teacher that can teach me how to do it than someone that is very, very good at what they're doing and couldn't teach me anything.
Sure.
That seems like your philosophy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I had enough experience through the organization I worked for originally to be able to learn how to install.
Yeah.
Can I lay film with the best of them? Yes.
And that's not to say, let me clarify. That's not to say that you don't know what you're doing.
Understood. I think that if I can come into it without a superiority complex and understand I come from an installer side and I can talk the talk and walk the walk, it makes a big difference because more of your educators in the corporate side don't know a thing about installing and they're just taught the basics. And, when you are able to back that up with the skill and teach and give reasons why you do this instead of that, it really shows that like you actually know what you're doing. I'm going to listen to this person. They have some validity to what they say, so they soak it up a lot more. And I've brought in staff that can basically do the same thing. And they bleed and sweat exactly what we're trying to pitch here because they have plenty of install experience and they've learned how I teach. And so they've been able to observe and follow the program, and they will become better teachers as they get the opportunities to work with people. Because it took me time. It took me time to learn and get better at it. But I'm not hiring someone brand spanking new to just teach something that they don't know. So it's given me an opportunity to elevate people who are in this industry that are looking for that next phase. So that's been awesome to then be able to give people opportunities to explore ways that they can give back to the community, give back to the industry, and find a little validity in all the time you spent in the industry. And it's very fulfilling. I mean, what I do brings a ton of fulfillment. I get smiles on my face when people call and they're super happy because of something happened, and it makes me feel good.
That's nice.
That's why you do it. It's was it oxytocin? That feeling that you get when
the dopamine hit, oxytocin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, all of those neurotransmitters.
Yeah,
and chemicals.
It's amazing. So when you do stuff that you enjoy and you want to get that hit over and over and over again, so it's exciting when you see people succeed and it validates all of the work that we're trying to do. So
would that be the motivation for someone to come work for you versus being like, well, I can make as much or more money or, have my own thing or whatever. Like, why wouldn't, and this is kind of a pointed, loaded question, but why wouldn't I just keep installing film versus go work at a training academy that helps other people learn? Is there a certain type of person that makes that like, I'm just tired of laying film. I want to go and I really
Bingo.
want to teach other people, right?
Yeah, that's what's going to happen is you're going to get tired because it's physically tiring. And you'll be at a point where, yeah, you're going to hit that cap of how much you can make as an installer. And you either stay an installer or you start your own business so you can try and make more money. But trying to start your own business comes with its own set of other risks from trying to get insurance, having a facility, staffing it, overextending yourself. Because, there is a certain lifespan at one point with your tenure in installing. Eventually you want to kind of preserve your body a bit and be able to pass that knowledge on, because working with consumers is a grind. It's
Yeah,
there's no getting around it. Okay?
Yeah.
And so it gets to a point where that professional wants a break from that, and they say, okay, well, it's not about the money anymore. It's about my happiness. And when you get that taste of helping someone else be better, it's addictive.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
I love that. I think that's really, the timeline. And, I've said on the podcast a bunch of times that not everyone is meant to run their own business.
Sure.
Right. Like we have this ideology that, first of all small business owners are entrepreneurs, which I don't believe is true. And it's okay that it's not, but not everyone is built to start and run a business that's going to be 7 and 8 figures.
Correct.
And sometimes I talk to people all the time. It's like, well, I'm really good at installing, but I hate sales. I hate all the business stuff and all that. I'm like, well, just hire somebody to do that and you install.
Correct.
If you want to run your own business or just go work for someone else, right? Like that's the other thing.
And I see that, like, you look at like someone trying to build a business, right? And you see, oh, well, I want to build this business and then sell it, right? Good luck, because you don't have any contracts with any dealerships or any wholesale accounts, because most of them don't want to give you a contract. And 2, how much staff do you have? Is it just you? And what happens if you are taking out of that situation and in that structure? Is the business still going to be able to thrive without you? Probably not. And so therefore you don't have anything to sell off. So as soon as you stop installing, there's no income. There's nothing sellable. You also have like the franchise model, which, you take a look at organizations like Z-Bart or Tint World, and most of those organizations, it's not owner operated. Those are investors. And that investor struggles to find the laborers, the installers. And it's not an industry that is franchisable, in my opinion. It doesn't work, because if you try to extend yourself too much, well, guess what? Your staff starts to take advantage when there's no leadership there. And trying to take something that's skill-based and duplicate it is really, really difficult. Not saying it's impossible, but no one has done it successfully, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, the only way to do it is to duplicate the skill set, right? Like, and to be able to do, and, I think businesses like yours, academies like yours help that, because then it is really lather, rinse, repeat, assuming that the person comes in with a similar skill set or talent set or whatever. Then by the time they get out, then each one that comes through, if I've got 5 PPF installers in my shop, they should all have the same level of skill over time, right? Because they've got the training, and then they have to develop the practice and the experience and all that, right?
Yep. How did you actually get into the business?
So I did want to ask you, so when we say industry, are we differentiating between, and this was a question that I was like, I wonder if we actually should differentiate between detailing industry and PPF industry. Are we calling them one big auto appearance industry?
I do. I look at it as one automotive, like an auto spa, because it's everything that has to do with automotive aesthetics. And we tend to find that the film industry blends in with that, especially with like vinyl installation, even PDR. PDR goes into that as well. we're not taking parts that are part of the guts of the car and replacing it. Like that's more functionality. What we're doing is really making the car either look better or just look different.
Yeah.
Especially if it's dirty, you're making it look clean, like it's brand
Right.
new. Or if it hasn't been maintained, you're making it look like the paint is much better. Like when you first bought it. So all of that, in my opinion, is more on the aesthetic side, and so therefore I try to lump it all together. Like in my early tenure of getting into the business, I did focus more on PPF guys and window tint guys.
Yeah.
Because they lots of times blended with each other because it's film. But the reality is, I found that the window tint side was the worst time spent because most of them are selling on price. Because you get everything from the left to the right and everything in the middle.
Right.
PPF is specifically like either brand new or new to you.
Right.
And when you deal with paint correction coatings, that's more of the consumer that's interested in protecting their surface. And so therefore, they are selling something you can't see. That's detailing.
Yeah.
It's a service. And so that's what we found was an easier entry. So we focused a lot more of our attention in the detailing realm for getting guys into paint protection film because it was very synergistic with the paint correction and coating side, especially when, if it's a brand new car, you don't have to paint correct the panels that you're installing film on. Makes it look like it wasn't there. So it's great.
Yeah.
But, when you're talking about window tint, you could get a 1994 Honda Civic, or you can get a 2025 Bentley Continental. So, it's a big range. So when they didn't know how to sell the product, it was always about price, price, price. We found detailers who did actually offer paint correction coatings had a better sales process. Doesn't mean that it was perfected. They all can be better at it, but they had a better speech and narrative when it was talking about something that you can't see because they were selling service. So that's we found.
I think that's perfect. It's really automotive surface enhancement and protection, or some tagline like that, right? Like
sure.
It's all encompassing. I just wanted to I wanted to make sure we were kind of on the same page. Well, my background, like I said, I was a trainer, ran health clubs. I worked for a startup company back in the .com age. I'm 52, so I went through all that, like VC money flowing like milk and honey, and then ended up starting my own company, and eventually ended up I had my own detailing shop, which we did probably 80% interior work because I live in Montana, which up like by New Hampshire is going to be similar weather probably.
Sure.
And then I launched this tool belt called Detailer's Helper, and then that was like almost 15 years ago now. And so that was like I kind of am in what I call kind of these OG detailers from 10 to 15 years ago.
Sure.
Like it's a whole set of different guys. And then, I do consulting and all that. And then, working for Detailers Roadmap is a great experience because I get to kind of, with this podcast, one of the best things is I just get to, make new friends and talk to my friends, right? Like that's and learn more stuff. And so that's kind of my foray in the industry. But back in that 2012, to about 2016, I was just trying to teach people about business.
Sure.
And no one was doing it. Like everybody wanted to talk about, and now it's much more prolific, which is awesome because I'm glad I didn't have to talk about it anymore because everybody else started talking about it. But it was always like, paint correction and all that, or, how to get this to work or that to work, or what machine is better than the other, all of that stuff that the industry is going through. The one thing I do find interesting, and I'd love for you to comment on this, is that we have transitioned from, what detailing was let's say pre-coding. Oh, by the way, in part of that, I helped develop the network for G-Technic in the United States. So that was kind of one of my big jobs. So I have kind of a coding background, but going from like what detailing used to be, right, to then, hey, let's put, thanks to Ceramic Pro with their consumer education,
Yep.
and right or wrong, it worked, right? Like setting
that stuff on fire.
set stuff on fire, hit it with a poly pipe, put chalkboard paint, which actually wipes off anyway, like all of that stuff that they did, right? Like I don't fault them for any of that, because without that semi nonsense that they did, it was just good marketing, and it literally opened up the consumer's eyes to what ceramic coatings were. And I think that they were very instrumental in making that bridge. But I think it's interesting that and then what people started doing is like, oh, I can get $3,000 for a correction and coating. I'm not doing detailing anymore, quote unquote, right? I won't touch an interior. I won't do mobile. I won't even barely clean the cars. And now, as that market is more saturated, everybody I talk to that's in the detailing industry, or most of them, either has PPF in their shop or is going to add PPF to their shop. And I think that they're beginning to, and still at the same time, and I'd love for you to kind of comment on like this multiple services thing. But at the same time, I'm like, do you guys do maintenance washes? Do you have maintenance programs? I had this conversation last weekend. And they're like, no, we don't do it. We don't do any of that. I'm like, seriously? Do you know how much money you're leaving on the table by not touching these cars and not nurturing your customers? And so that's kind of where we're at. But it seems like it's now we're in this, intent is part of it, but less so. But now we're kind of in this, I do PPF. I'm like, what else? What else does your business do? I do PPF.
Yeah, you got to do more than just one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I find that because detailing has such a low barrier to entry, that is why you've seen what people can charge has gone down, not gone up. And that's why a lot of them are looking for other premium services like paint protection film and window tint. But the challenge that they've run up against is that getting into paint protection film is not a cheap barrier to entry. It's expensive. And it's not just expensive because of the cost of the material. It's expensive.
Yeah, because just on that, what number would you say, if I want to learn how to do paint protection film, I'm going to throw away $10,000 worth of material, 20?
No,
like,
you're going to probably, so in your first year, you're probably going to spend between 20 to 30 grand all in, because not only you're going to want to start with a plotter, that's like usually between 6 to 8 grand for just the unit itself. You're going to want tools, film, and more film, because you're going to toss out a lot of film from the installation process of practicing. Okay. So that starts to add up over time. And I always say it takes about a dozen cars to get comfortable with the process. And then it takes about 50 cars to get proficient. Now, that can range from a shop where 12 cars could take you a full year. 12 cars could take you 2 months. So it depends on your sales process, your customer base, what's your SOP? Are you able to actually promote the services? So we're finding that the manufacturers, or just installers in general, because social media is such a good medium for promotion, we make what we do look so easy when it's not. Yeah. And then they think that it's such a low barrier to entry, just like detailing and paint correction is, that when they hear those numbers, they're like, whoa, let's pump the brakes. And I always advocate, well, if it's too much, are you even offering the service to begin with? Yeah. So then I go around and I say, okay, well, don't do training yet. Do proof of concept. Find a subcontractor, because there's plenty of them out there, and hire them. Come up with a negotiated price and start pitching it to your customers. Because if only 1 or 2 customers in your tenure of the business are starting to ask for paint protection film, that's not a good enough reason to start investing into learning a new skill. You got to have more than that, right? Yeah. And so the bridge is subcontracting someone so that you can prove that your customer base warrants you learning it. And subbing it out is a easy entry where you're still making money for not having to do it. And eventually, if someone actually starts to build a momentum, they can use that bridge with the subcontractor. So while they learn and get better, they can still lean on them if they need to. And then eventually they have it all in-house. where the profit margin is much better.
Yeah. And you're looking for subcontractors where, like, they own their own shop, or they do it, but they don't, maybe they're not a full docket or whatever.
Usually subcontractors make themselves known within their market space. And so there's other shops that are willing to do installs. So if you've got someone that is, not in your local market per se, but they're, 20 miles plus away, and they have a shop, I can almost guarantee you that they are willing to take on some business if it's mobile and they're compensated appropriately.
Right.
The business is there. I mean, at minimum, if they're good at it, there's plenty of healthy margins in installing film, especially on the subcontractor side.
Yeah.
And there's more than enough work for everyone. There's more than enough work.
Yeah. And if your business is set up the way we just talked about, even if you're only making a few $100 on that sub install to do a proof of concept, right? Then it's not like they're going to steal your customer. Like,
correct.
You should still be maximizing your revenue, lifetime customer value and revenue from them. So then I love that idea, because that's almost literally it's almost no investment at all.
Correct.
Other than making sure the insurance is there, making sure everything's covered, all of that stuff that people should be doing anyway. But,
yep.
Yeah.
But you could tell that's the conversations that, like, maybe the person, it's not the right time. Because what they see on social media, you could fake it to make it all you want. But, like, when you actually have a conversation with someone, that's when you get the real heart of what they're trying to do. And when you find out that they haven't had anyone ask, they just think it's the next step for the business. It's like, well, here's what the true costs are going to be. Are you sure your business is ready for that? Because at the end of the day, if you aren't even promoting it yet, why you're entertaining this? There's plenty of subcontractors out there. Even on the window tint side, there's plenty of subcontractors. So
yeah, it seems like that one actually is more prolific in terms of, because window tinters, it seems to be the continuum seems to be pretty wide with window tinting. I don't want to insult window tinters, but there's you seem like you have this like big shop with a bunch of guys tinting, or you kind of have these really small mobile guys that are kind of like, that are the perfect subcontractor. Come in, spend Mondays here, get me done, and move on, right?
Yeah, because when you have a shop space, right, and you're typically, in order to be successful on tint only, it's got to be volume. So you've got to have a lot of tint coming through. So that means you have to open up the door to, like I said before, everyone from the left to the right. So you have to have cheap tint, moderate tint, and expensive tint. And in order to keep that business running, winter is slow for most places. So you need to have other revenue streams. Otherwise, if you're going to be tint as your main skill set and you want to be successful, then you need to offer that skill set to other shops who will pay you handsomely to come in and do the work, so that they don't have to see their customer being taken by another shop, because that shop offers all services.
Right.
And it's value added. And that's what we talk about. Value.
Yeah. I love it. I want to be respectful of your time. I do. One thing I picked up is something that I think we share very similar philosophy. You have 2 small kids at home, married. What are you telling these young business owners and young, guys that are kind of getting into the industry? Like, do you teach them about kind of this life balance thing? Like trying to, because I feel like that you do. That's why I'm asking the question. Yeah. But what are you teaching these guys about? All right, this is a skill you learn. How do you help them to be able to use it to build this life that they're trying to build?
I try to be as open and honest as I can. And I think sometimes people are very guarded when it comes to communicating to others in the industry. So I'll use as an example, right? I'm very open, way more than my wife is. Okay. My wife is an OBGYN and she has to deal with a variety of stuff when it comes to women's health and delivering babies and just pregnancy in general. And so when we were pregnant, or when she was pregnant with the first child, we went through a miscarriage. And when you find out that in all reality, miscarriages are common. Okay?
Much more common than most people know.
Yeah, they're very common. But when it happens to you, personally, you now can have more empathy
Yeah.
for what those individuals have gone through. And so it's my life experience to be able to be open with people, and so that they have an understanding that I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take a more human approach and you're more willing to be open about stuff like finances, people don't want to talk about their finances. It's one of the first thing I ask. It's one of the first things I talk about.
Yeah.
Like, when we start talking about what kind of mortgage rate did you get? It's things that become, society sees it as taboo, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
It's finding out information so that you can better help them, both professionally, but also personally.
Yeah.
I went through some serious stuff when I was young. I've been through, even though I'm 42, I've been through a lot of life experiences that most people haven't experienced in their whole life.
Yeah.
From spending time in jail, I did serve some time, making some stupid decisions when I was younger, back selling pot, which now in the state it's legal. So
that's ironic, isn't it? That just...
Right? Call me a modern day rum runner. It's at the end of the day, like, that taught me a lot of life experience, and it helped me learn how to read people a lot faster. People having ulterior motives, because in that county jail that I was at, most of those people were just repeat offenders.
Yeah.
Like, they're learning to be a better criminal.
Yeah, most young people that go to jail learn how to be better criminals, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
that's what they learn.
And that was not my style. It was just, I got caught, selling pot. So I went through a lot of death as a young kid. A lot of my mom's side of her family, I got to deal with death. I had to deal with someone dying from cancer when I was a teenager. Like, just those types of things and experiences, I got to learn how to deal with it and be able to move on. And I've been able to be human with other people so that they don't look at me as just a robot and it's business and it's all business.
Right.
I mean, more than half the people that I talk to and customers, we chit chat about life and about our kids and what's going on or what's going on for sports, because it's humanizing the business part of it, because this is a relationship business. And if you keep it all about product sales and this and that, and you don't humanize it, then you wind up pushing people away and not wanting to open up, because lots of times your personal life stems into your business life. And that's what affects you the most, is what's happening in your personal life bleeds into that, and it affects how you operate the business.
Yeah.
That could be stressful.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have an open relationship with those guys, then they start to open up with you, and then you're able to help advise them in a lot of different ways. And then they become more open about their business.
Yeah.
And then you are able to be brutally honest with them so that they take it, I don't want to say take it on the chin, but they take it from a position of you have their best interest at heart, and that you're not just being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, and you give them a better life perspective, right? Like one of the things I like to tell younger entrepreneurs, but pretty much all of them, is like, dude, you can't, if you're giving the purpose of your business is to help you build a life, not the other way around.
Correct.
Because so many entrepreneurs give up their entire life to build a business. It's like, there's really no point, because that business, if you close down tomorrow, those customers will go find somebody else.
Correct.
Correct. Your family has a little bit more difficulty replacing you, right?
Oh yeah. I've always loved the mantra of I work to live, I don't live to work.
Right.
And there's a big difference between the two.
100%. I think that's a great place to end. How do people find out more about what you got going on? Check out the school, sign up, all of those things.
Absolutely. So we're constantly posting on all the groups on Facebook. Check out our website at www.equip-academy.com. We'll be launching our other website for AutoLab, which is www.autolabfilms.com, where you get to see the brands that we get to work with, from Viper Industrial Stools. Like, that's what they get to learn on those.
Yeah.
Which are awesome.
Alex and Dane, those are awesome guys, friends of mine. Yep.
we're partnered with GraphTech because we're a GraphTech distributor, so one of the best plotters in the business. So we make sure that we're working with premium brands and premium products. So the number that's on there, that's my direct contact. So anyone that reaches out, it goes directly to me, and we connect you with the right person, the right information, and we just love talking to people and giving them the right info.
Awesome. Jamie, it's a real pleasure, man. Enjoyed talking to you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.